This is the National Defense, Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Jerry, as always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving in our military. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
This is exciting. Mike Rowe is a big fan of Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe has been, you may know him from his hit TV show on the Discovery Channel, Dirty Jobs. Mike Rowe joins us here in the National Defense. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, Randy. Thanks. How you doing?
Man, I'll tell you what, you are, if there's ever a definition of a cobbler, it's you. I mean, you got so much going on and have your entire life, right? I mean, from opera to QVC to Dirty Jobs and narration, you've just about done it all.
Well, it's a very kind way of saying that I really can't hold a job. And the evidence demands a verdict, and I am guilty as charged.
I was checking out your website, MikeRowe.com, and there's a great podcast you do every Tuesday that is it's called The Way I Heard It. New episodes every Tuesday. I just listened to the latest episode called Render Unto Caesar. I mean, it's a little bit, it kind of reminds me of the classic Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, but it's a cool way to tell a story. And what got you into that?
Well, asked and answered. It was Paul Harvey.
Oh, really?
For years, when like in the 80s, late 70s, growing up in Baltimore, I'd be driving around town listening to the radio, and Paul Harvey would come on with, he used to call it the rest of the story.
Right.
And these were 5-minute mysteries served up through the lens of biography or history. And I can't tell you how many times in my car I would wind up getting to wherever it was I was going, but unable to get out of the car until I heard Paul Harvey, say, and now you've heard the rest of the story. So,
same here.
I mean, so that's it. Biography and history, they take it in the neck these days. It's a tough sell. But I thought if I can make them mysteries and write them myself and try and make them a little subversive, who knows, maybe there's an audience. And, we had 50 million downloads last year, which I told is good. So I'm doing more.
And yes, I did sign up for Blue Apron. I mean, you got some great sponsors on this thing, and you do such a good job. I mean, I think that's part of your talent, your ability, your gift is to sound so natural, no matter whether you're telling a story, relating some kind of a sponsorship message, but you do such a good job with that. And we're talking to Mike Rowe here in the National Defense. How come you never got into radio? I mean, you've done everything with your voice except for radio.
In college, I did half a semester of it, and I would have done a lot more, and I liked it. I liked it fine. But somebody came over and said, hey, would you do a stand-up on the local news station for a thing? And I thought, well, look, if I can get away with being on TV, I might as well do that until I can't get away with it anymore.
Right.
So,
right.
Nothing bad to say about radio.
Yeah.
I just sort of, put my finger in the air and figured out which way the wind was blowing.
And,
you went that way.
You were smart. You found out early. There's things you can make money with, or there's a radio. Hey, let's talk about what you've been a friend of veterans for a long time, and especially through the Mike Rowe Works Foundation, the Profoundly Disconnected campaign. In fact, I got to tell you, you're one of the first guys, and maybe the only guy I've ever heard say this that makes so much sense about veterans transitioning out, that there's a boot camp for going into the military, but nothing for coming out. And you just made such a great career of that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, sure. I mean, for me personally, it's always been about the reverse commute. It's been about figuring out a way to work in television where I could be a guest instead of a host, an amateur instead of an expert, an apprentice instead of a master. That's my whole thing. And I was doing the 100th dirty job. I wanted to do something special, and I went to Fort Jackson and worked with the guys in the fixed wheel battalion. These are basically the best mechanics in the Army.
Right.
And it was one of the guys there who actually told me, he said, the hardest thing is watching these men and women come back who are highly trained, very skilled, but just not quite ready to immediately assimilate. It's hard to come back from a place where people are shooting at you and suddenly find yourself sitting across from an HR professional who has absolutely, nothing in common with your experience.
Right.
And so, the more I thought about it, I do a lot of work with the Marine Corps here in San Francisco. I was talking to the general over there, and he said, Mike, if you really want a story, look at the unemployment rates. This was back in 2009. But look at the unemployment rates for recently separated service people compared to the national average. And I did, and it is scandalous. It's typically twice as high all the time. And back then, unemployment was, 9%. So you had 22% of vets coming back who couldn't assimilate, couldn't find work. And so, that's when I took the little foundation that I run and said, maybe we'd be better served figuring out a way to take these people who already have the skills that are such in demand, as well as the soft skills. Typically a vet understands, you show up on time, you stay late, you tuck your shirt in, don't answer a phone call during an interview, all that basic stuff.
Right.
All that's in place. And so, it's not the only thing we do, but it is something that's important to me because, I kind of feel like we owe it to them.
Yeah, and just to kind of underscore that, I was talking to a veteran the other day that, he same kind of thing. He comes out, he was driving tanks and driving trucks in the military, and shows up for a job as a truck driver, and the guy asked him, said, can we trust you with this equipment? And he says, well, I've been in charge of, $25 million tanks. I think I can maybe handle one of these. But you were also, Mike, it just seems so commonsensical about the trade schools. You've always been a big proponent for trades as opposed to, or maybe instead of a regular classical college education. But it makes so much sense because they've already got that training. All they need is sometimes the certification.
I think part of the problem that we've fallen into collectively is this idea, this cookie-cutter approach with respect to education. And parents are really guilty of this, and understandably, we want what's best for our kids, and we don't know what's best for our kids. Yeah. So somebody has come along and told us, look, here's what's best, a 4-year degree. Now, it also is true that that path is the most expensive path.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is we've promoted one form of education at the expense of all the others. And my message isn't that a liberal arts degree is bad or a 4-year degree is bad. I've got one, and it served me well. But in 1984, when I matriculated, my total cost, both for a 2-year community college and a university, was $12,500. Today, it's $84,000.
Wow.
So, it's just too damn expensive for too many people. And because we just keep leaning on this one particular path, at the expense of the others, we've got a skills gap now. We've got 6 million jobs that currently exist. 75% of them don't require a 4-year degree. They require training. And in so many cases, vets have that training baked in, along with a work ethic that most companies are craving.
Hey, Mike, just a second. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back here with Mike Rowe on the National Defense.